Hello everyone and welcome to another GeoGuessr video. Now for today's video we'll be playing country streaks on GeoGuessr but without moving. And instead of playing the normal country streaks mode that you can see in the default GeoGuessr website, I'll be playing country streaks on a diverse world on that map. So I have a country streaks extension installed which will constantly display the country streak on the top of the screen, so I don't have to keep track manually of it. And I'll also be playing no moving, so that's going to add to the challenge. Now, the world record for this is 117 or something, so I personally don't think I'm going to get even close to that, but I do want to see how far I can get, so I'm going to give it my best shot. Hopefully, we get some decent seeds, and let's see how far I can go. Now, I have already attempted this, so I'll be post-commentating this. Uh, so yeah, I'll try to explain my logic, my reasoning for the guesses I make. And yeah, enjoy the journey. Let's go. So, in round number 1, it looks like we have some reddish soil. And zooming in on the pole, that's a Brazilian pole. That points clearly to Brazil. Waste no time making that guess. Now we have a Malaysian electric pole as well as a black number plate with white text which backed up Malaysia. Here we clearly have South Korean text, I guess. Clearly South Korea there. Now that Google car and this landscape points towards Kyrgyzstan, so that's also a fairly easy guess. And in this round we have a lot of brick buildings, not really painted. Sun is kind of in the middle, so it's slightly to the north maybe. And then just the mountains behind us, it looks very Bolivian. Bolivia tends to have those unpainted brick buildings, so that's what I went with there. And it turned out to be right. Now on this one there was a clear Google car meta. Dominican Republic is the country that has that Google car, so I went for that. And it looks like we have some Eastern European country here. Not really much to go off of here. We have some round poles and a bit of language there. So for me this looked kind of Slovakian. There was an off chance that this could have been Czech Republic, but I just went with my first instinct and it turned out to be Slovakia. Now these road lines we do find in the south of Africa, so South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini. But it's clearly not Botswana, it's way too hilly for Botswana. So it was down to the other 3. Now Lesotho doesn't have these many trees, so that was also eliminated. But this, in my opinion, looked more like Eswatini, so I went with it and it turned out to be right. On this one we have a Gen 4 camera and we have language, which clearly pointed towards Thailand. And on this one we have double yellow lines on the side, yellow number plate at the back and white number plate at the front, which is just found in the UK. So there we go, that guess is made. 22.7k, decent score for that game. And streak is alive. On this one we have a Gen 2 camera. Looks like we are driving on the right as well. You see some of those pickup trucks that you often see in North America. So in my head this looked quite a bit like Mexico. And you also see that dollar sign there. So that also gave me a bit more of a reason to think Mexico. Personally for me, the reason I went Mexico is because I couldn't really think of anything else that made sense. So I just went for it. On this one I just have a Australian bollard, so it didn't really take any time to guess. That part of Australia tends to have that whitish soil as well, so went for that part and it turned out to be right. Now on this one we have what looks like a French pole, but that number plate looked a little bit reddish to me in the beginning. So I was a little bit confused if this could be Belgium on the off chance, but it didn't really look like Belgium. I was still contemplating for a little bit, but I made up my mind it had to be France. And it was even far south, it was very southern France, so Belgium is not even close. Now on this one, I've spotted this pedestrian sign, which is unique to Spain and Andorra, I guess, but it doesn't look like Andorra at all, so I had to go Spain. Now on this one, you just have reddish soil, like the most quintessential Brazil you could ever get. So I just had to go with Brazil there, and it turned out to be right. On this one, it looks like we have a low cam, so that indicated to me that this is Japan. And on this one, we have what looks like a mosque over there, and it seems like we are also driving on the left. So it was really down to either Malaysia or Indonesia to me. Now it was a question of which one this is. These poles are not really found in Malaysia, so I was thinking this is probably Indonesia, but I needed more evidence, more proof, so I was looking for more hints. Usually the number plates are a good way to distinguish between these things. So I started looking for number plates, and there it was. That number plate looked very much like an Indonesian number plate. There was another one as well, so both of them made Indonesia make a lot more sense, so I went for that, and it was Indonesia. On the next round, we again have a Gen 4 camera and a bit of English, but we seem to be driving on the left. There's another number plate, and this looked also like an Indonesian plate, and the one on the car behind as well. So again, I'm thinking Indonesia. Indonesia does have Gen 4, so it does make a lot of sense. But I'm just panning around trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. And as you can see in the car, the steering wheel is also on the right side, so driving on the left, that also confirms it, and it was indeed Indonesia. Now this one kind of stumped me because I really didn't have an idea at first of what this could be. There's a few countries that come in mind, but I was looking for hints, looking for poles. I didn't really recognize that electric pole. It looked really green and mountainous, so I was thinking maybe Turkey at first, but that pole didn't look Turkish. Then I saw this pole, and this pole looked like a bit of a Romanian pole, but this is nothing like Romania, so I was really confused. And then I forgot that Russia exists. The biggest country in the world exists. I just forgot about it. And that long antenna corresponds very well with Russia. So I went for Russia, and it was indeed Russia, but it's a very, very weird Russia, in my head at least, because you don't really see that much of a lush, green, hilly Russia around usually. So that was an interesting one. Here we have a small antenna, sun in the south, and an octagonal pole, which all points to Mexico. So we got that up to a streak of 20, which is quite good. Here we have the sun in the south, and I was checking if I knew the pole. There's something else as well, but the biggest hint there is the bollard there, which I spotted then. Yellow on one side, very much a Spanish bollard. So I was pretty confident in Spain here, just making sure everything else made sense as well, which it did, and I went with Spain. Now here at first I thought this could even be Colombia because of the cross on the back of the sign, but then I realized this looked nothing like Colombia, and that sign was actually black at the back, but just a bit discolored, I guess. A bit of a few scratches on it, so it was just Brazil. Went for it, and on this one we have just Danish road lines. A very easy Denmark there if you know your road lines. And here, what did we have here? Wasn't really sure, and then I've spotted the flag, so that made it easy. And then I also saw the number plate just to reassure myself that this is Malaysia, which it was. So we got that. And on this round we have yellow number plates, which is probably just Israel in my head, but I still wanted to make sure. So I zoomed in there, and there it is. It says IL as well on the plate, so clear Israel for me. Zooming in and make a guess. indeed in Israel. So that brings me to 25. Now for the 26th one, we have another pole, which I wasn't really sure what it looked like. Because I've seen that pole in Chile and Brazil. Um, or I guess there's a bit of a difference between them, but I don't personally know it, not yet at least. I probably should invest some time in learning these things, but the sun is in the north, so this is either Chile or Brazil in my head. But I wasn't really sure which one because the soil looked kind of Brazilian. And I don't know, it looked a bit weird for Chile. But I spotted those mountains in the back, and I personally could not remember any place in Brazil that would look like this. Whereas I could think of multiple places in Chile that could look like this. So based on that, I was thinking more of Chile here than Brazil. So still panning around because I was not fully sure. But I think I went with Chile in the end here. The sun being in the north is also very indicative of Chile. Unfortunately, you couldn't see the car, but there was no antenna as well, which also kind of hinted that might be Chile. Although Brazil also sometimes doesn't have an antenna, but fortunately it was Chile, so it worked out. Here we have some Cyrillic, so it is 99% Russia. There's a 1% chance of it being Eastern Ukraine, but fortunately it wasn't there. On this one, I just had a sign that said Murmansk, and I knew where that city is, which is northwest of Russia. Now that was 843 kilometers, so I went a bit further south, and that was a pretty good guess for Russia. Now we have an octagonal pole, and it says Mex right there, so there's also an antenna on the car. There's really no reason not to go Mexico, sun is in the south as well. So I just go in Mexico. Turns out right again. And this is a classic US or Canada flip. I'm personally not good at differentiating between them, but I know there's some hints that help people out differentiating what country is what. So I'm trying to see if I can find any flag, and then I spot that stop sign, which I think says RA. So I'm thinking it's maybe in Quebec now, or at least the French part of Canada. And there you see Rue de whatever. So that gave me confirmation that we are in Canada. Very lucky actually to be spawned in French-speaking part of Canada. On this one we have Turkish Bolazan, a very Turkish looking landscape. Had to go to Turkey. A pretty easy one. And here we have a white cross on the back of the road sign. We have yellow number plates and an antenna on the Google car. It's had to be Colombia in my head. Double yellow lines in the middle as well. So I just went for it. And we were right, so we're up to 32. On this one I was just blessed with a Canadian sign right in front of me. So that was a quick Canada as well. Now this looked very Norwegian to me, but I had not really seen that bollard. You rarely get to see bollards in Norway. I was just trying to make sure it's not a weird Canada, just because I didn't know that bollard, but I saw that language looked Norwegian enough and I went for it. Now in this one we have a bit of language. So I'm personally not very good at differentiating these languages. I was confused between Italy and Spain here, but there you go. I saw a double blue number plate as well, and it really looked a bit more Italian in my head, simply because I don't actually know it. I feel like Italy has a lot of Gen 2 coverage, so whenever I see Gen 2, I tend to think of Italy more. But fortunately, I got that double blue plate to confirm it. This one is just South Korea because of the black car and just the Asian looking landscape. On this one we have an Argentine pole, sun in the north, black car as well. This was pretty much definitely Argentina. I was just making sure that it is because we have the white road lines, which you still do find in Argentina, but it's a little bit uncommon. But I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, and it was Argentina. Now we're back again with the classic US-Canada flip. Uh, this looked a little bit more like the US to me. With these, I don't know, it's just the landscape really. Nothing else really. I couldn't really think of a place in Canada that would look like this. Let's put it that way. So it really was just the US in my head. There's no way it could have been Mexico as well, I think. The poles didn't look Mexican either. So I just went for the US, and it was the US. This one is a classic Norway, Gen 4 and Norwegian road lines. So I just went for it. And on this one we have a black tape on the car, so that is a good old Ghana. So I went for Ghana, and we are up to 40, which is quite a remarkable streak, if I may say so myself. Now this one I was a bit scared of because it could have been a couple of countries like Bolivia, Peru, maybe even a weird Chile. But luckily for me, the GeoGuessr gods were on my side and blessed me with the Bolivian flag, which you don't really get to see too often. So kind of worked out in my favor. On this one we have a rift in the sky, so it narrows it down to either Montenegro or Albania. Now you can usually differentiate them based on the number plates, so I was zooming in trying to see if I can find any Albanian plates, which I couldn't. All of them just looked like normal EU plates which you'd find in Montenegro. So I did give it a couple of seconds, panned around, trying to make sure there's no Albanian plate that I'm missing. And I went for Montenegro, which it was indeed. Now here I saw Maple Products Pancake House. Had to be Canada in my head, but I wanted to make sure it's not the US. Apparently I missed something, which I will get to soon. But yeah, I was trying to see if there's anything that gives me Canada or the US. It's one of the two for sure. And the sun is also backing that up. And then I zoom in and notice that it uses kilometers, not miles, which clarifies that we are in Canada. I guess the maple meta did work, huh? And here we have some Turkish looking language with Gen 4. I wasn't 100% sure at first if this is Turkey, so I was panning around a little bit. But then I saw the EU plate was there, the buildings looked very Turkish, and that language also looked very, very Turkish, so couldn't really have been anything else in my head. So I just went for Turkey. There you go, guess has been made. And we are on to the next round. And it uses Spanish language, and we have a black Google car. So this in my head just looks like Argentina, and there we go, there's an Argentina flag as well if I had needed more confirmation. This has to be further south, and it was even far south than I thought originally, so that was a bit of a surprise. This is a classic Japan with the low cam and this Japanese writing, Japanese stop sign. But it looked a bit weird, it looked like we were on an island. So, I mean, I was pretty confident it's Japan, but I was considering if it might be Okinawa, which is an island further south. But then I changed my mind, I just went mainland, and it was just mainland. Here we have an antenna on this car, and we have that little bollard which really saved the day here. We have the other one as well. White number plates. Could have only been Ecuador in my head. Ecuador has those bollards. So I went for it, and there we go, 47 streak, getting very close to the 50. And we have a bit of an unfortunate 50-50 again. Now the issue here for me was that this is either Australia or New Zealand because the sun is in the north, and it looks like both of those, I guess. Unfortunately, I don't know my poles in Australia and New Zealand, so I know some of the more experienced players would probably just guess this based on the poles. but I needed more clues, so I was searching for more hints. You don't usually get to see flags down here in Australia or New Zealand, but I did see some bollards, and I was trying to make out if it was an Australian or a New Zealand bollard. But unfortunately, it was so zoomed out that I'm still not sure. So I'm still trying to see what it could be. Looking for maybe a hint on the Google car. That really makes sense. So I was thinking what it could be. It looked really weird for New Zealand because I couldn't really think of what part of New Zealand would look like that. Up north would be a bit more tropical, but I couldn't see any palm trees or anything like that. And I feel like Auckland just looks a bit different than this. This looked more Australian to me, but the bollards looked a bit more like New Zealand for some reason from this zoom. So I wasn't really sure what I should do here. It gave me mixed vibes for sure. So I decided I'll just take my time, look around more, look at the landscape. I saw a few hills in the distance, but no big mountains really that you would find in New Zealand. But you could also be in a flat part of New Zealand, so I wasn't really sure. There was also an off chance that this could be Tasmania, which does make a lot of sense here, but I wasn't really sure of Tasmania because you don't tend to get it too much. So I was still contemplating. If I went to Australia, I'd still get the streak for Tasmania. So I guess Australia would be a bit of a safer bet because it also includes Tasmania. But for me personally, this just did not look like any part of New Zealand that I knew. The antenna was also pretty long, so I decided to send it, and it actually was in Tasmania. So it paid off that I went in Australia. And here we have a classic Eastern European location. Now, at first I was a bit disheartened or not really hopeful that I would get this. So I was looking for more hints. In the distance, looks like a railway there, and then I spotted that, I guess V-shaped pole, or like a inverted V. I honestly didn't know where you found that sign, so I didn't know. But I saw that sign, and that reminded me of Poland, because Poland tends to have those green signs, and I've also seen those white and black signs down in Poland. So I was thinking, could it be Poland? Those V-shaped poles are also found in Poland, so that would also back that theory. Other places I've seen those V-shaped poles are maybe in the Baltics, but this did not really look like the Baltics to me. Could have been like Slovakia or something, but I just didn't remember seeing those poles in Slovakia. Saw that red and white thing as well. I know red and white chevrons are present in Poland, so thought maybe it could. It's not really a chevron at all, but it's the same colors, so I was like, why not? Just gives me more reason to believe Poland. But yeah, that sign I think was the biggest hint for me there, and I just decided to send it. I think there's really no other clues that I could have found. It's just still checking the buildings in case I found a flag or anything, but the pole and the sign, I had to go for it. And it was Poland. And we are one away from 50. Now this reddish soil just instantly made me think of either Brazil or Cambodia. So I was looking at the poles if I could see a Brazilian pole that I know, but I couldn't really spot any Brazilian poles. So I was a bit concerned if this is Brazil or Cambodia. Now both of them have a small antenna on the car and drive on the right side, so that doesn't help. I zoomed in on the sign, but that didn't really look like Cambodian language to me, so I thought I'd just go for Brazil. And unfortunately it was Cambodia. Very, very unfortunate. A bit disappointing. It was a 50-50 for me. That reddish, ultra reddish soil. It had to be one of the two countries. and unfortunately I picked the wrong one. So still a valiant attempt. 49 is excellent for doing it solo, but yeah, just missed out by one from getting that 50 streak. But hopefully I'll try this again in the future. If you want me to try it, let me know. And yeah, hopefully we can get 50 or maybe even more. Ideally 100 or even more than that, but who knows how long that'll take. But yeah, that was a very fun video to do. I had a great time getting the countries. I did get a pretty good seed as well, I think. So that also worked in my favor. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the video or if you want more of these videos. And I'll try to make more of them, I guess. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.